Okay, so for this deep dive, we're starting way up high. Imagine you're on a night flight looking down. Our listeners' sources paint this really vivid picture. Cities below, all lit up, looking like, well, like galaxies scattered across the dark.
Yeah, it's a powerful image, and they immediately connect that huge external web of light and energy to what's happening inside your own head.
Inside the brain. They bring in Charles Sherrington, the neurophysiologist.
His famous quote about the waking brain being an enchanted loom.
Mhm.
Millions of flashing shuttles weave a dissolving pattern. It really captures that constant, incredible activity of consciousness.
But here's the kicker. The sources really emphasize scale. All that complexity, the human neocortex, it's actually tiny, like physically.
Really thin. About the thickness of maybe 4 credit cards stacked together. That's it.
Wild, isn't it? From this little 3 millimeter layer, we get everything we think of as uniquely human. Calculus, art, telescopes.
Right. And that leads straight into the core metaphor for this whole discussion. Humanity, all of us, we're like the Earth's neocortex, this thin, incredibly active layer.
But with this totally disproportionate power over the whole planet.
Yeah.
You change landscapes, climate,
Yeah.
everything.
We're the thinking layer, you could say. So the big question the sources pose is, what happens when this collective brain starts to, well, wake up properly?
And they argue this awakening, this big shift, it starts with clearing out the junk, the illusions. And the root of those illusions, anxiety.
Exactly. So our mission really is to track that idea. How getting your own house in order, psychologically speaking, how moving beyond your personal anxiety is actually the first crucial step, the spark maybe for these huge global changes.
Okay, let's dig into that. Where do we start? The sources mentioned something about cells.
Yeah, they draw this really neat parallel. Think about a single cell in your body, or yourself, or even, the concept of a soul. They suggest all these things can heal, even after serious damage, by doing just 2 basic things. Keep the toxins out and take the nourishment in. Simple, right, but profound.
Okay, so what's the main toxin for the mind, according to this?
It's lies, false beliefs, those corrosive thoughts we tell ourselves, like I'm useless, or I'll never succeed, or everyone's against me, those kinds of things. They erode your mental health and maybe even physical health, just like a poison damages a cell.
And the sources are really clear. Anxiety is a liar, always.
That distinction's critical. There's healthy fear, that's truth. You see a real threat, like, a tiger in the room.
Let's hope not.
Right. But you react, it saves you, that's truth. Anxiety, though, that's the fear of imaginary monsters. It's about a future that probably won't happen. It can only mess up your life.
There's actually a clinical definition for it, isn't there? Something about anticipatory responding.
Yeah, psychologists call it aberrant and excessive anticipatory responding under conditions of threat uncertainty. Bit of mouthful.
Okay, let's break that down. Aberrant means weird, wrong. Excessive is too much. Anticipatory is expecting something bad.
Under conditions where the threat isn't even clear or definite. So basically freaking out about vague, uncertain possibilities. Imaginary monsters.
Got it. And it's not just our own personal stuff, right? This anxiety gets woven into the whole culture.
Absolutely. It's in the narratives we share. Think about politics, for example. That absolute certainty some people have that this party or that policy will lead to utter ruin.
Or like miracle diets that promise to ward off all disease if you just follow these exact rules.
Exactly. Often impossible to prove, but they keep us in this state of high alert. It's draining.
So what's the fix? The sources suggest something pretty simple, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's not about fighting the anxiety head on. It's about observing it. Stepping back, like when you feel that dread creeping in and you know you're physically safe right now, just notice it.
You actually say to yourself, interesting. I seem to be having aberrant and excessive anticipatory responses.
Yeah, or maybe a shorter version. The point is to recognize it as anxiety, as a phenomenon happening in you, rather than believing it is reality.
And that helps you disconnect from it. Stop buying into the lies.
That's the idea. It creates a little space. And in that space, you can access what the sources call self-energy.
Self-energy. Sounds a bit woo, maybe.
Well, they define it very practically. It's your core consciousness, really. Your natural state when you're not hijacked by fear. They list its qualities. Calm, clear, confident, curious, courageous, creative. The C words.
Calm, clear, confident, curious, courageous, creative.
And think about how those directly counter anxiety, right? Anxiety is rigid, fearful certainty. Self-energy is curious and calm.
So you don't have to like force yourself to be calm. It's just what's underneath.
It's what emerges when you stop struggling against the anxiety, stop believing its stories. You allow what's actually true in the present moment. Nature, your own nature, starts the healing.
Okay, so that's step one. Stop taking in the toxin, the lies of anxiety. Step two was nourishment.
Exactly, taking in nourishment. And for the mind, that starts with observation and curiosity, which leads to creative imagination.
Ah, so imagination isn't just for scary stories.
Right. It can be used for paranoia, for those imaginary monsters, or it can be fuel for creativity, for building something new. The sources give this incredible example. Maria Ressa, the journalist, Nobel Prize winner.
Oh, right. She faced unbelievable online attacks in the Philippines, yeah.
Unbelievable is right. Hundreds of thousands of hate messages, death threats per hour. Just a massive, coordinated campaign designed to terrify her into silence.
Wow. I can't even imagine the level of anxiety that would create.
Right. But instead of just collapsing under it, she and her team did something amazing. They got curious.
Curious about death threats.
Curious about the attack itself. They treated it like data. They studied the patterns, the networks spreading the hate.
Okay, what did they find?
Well, they confirmed something grim. Lies spread much, much faster online than facts. About 6 times faster, apparently, which explains a lot about online toxicity.
Depressing. But you said there was hope.
Yes, because they discovered something else. One thing travels just as fast, just as powerfully as those lies.
What's that?
Inspiration. Genuine inspiration.
So creativity, truth, maybe connection, they can fight back.
It seems so. It implies that focusing on creative, truthful, inspiring work is the most powerful antidote. And it doesn't have to be huge. They mention a therapist, Ruth Kilpack, not famous, not rich, but incredibly creative in her work.
How so?
Like, she'd sometimes just spontaneously draw something for a client at the start of a session, not as some technique, just an act of connection, seeing them.
A small thing, but maybe deeply felt.
Exactly, that kind of genuine, non-anxious creativity, that self-energy in action. It created ripples, massive inspiration, changing lives even if she never knew the full extent.
That makes sense. One person living from that creative truth can have a bigger positive impact than 10 people pushing anxious agendas.
That's the argument, and it leads to the next idea. When people start living more from that space, they naturally find each other. They form these social cells.
Social cells, what are those exactly? Like clubs or movements?
Sort of. Think of them as groups, often loosely connected, bound together more by shared ideals and genuine affection than by rules or hierarchy. They generate a kind of collective wisdom. They're often behind big shifts, but they're hard to see sometimes.
Okay, how are they different from, say, a company or a government department? Those are groups, too.
Totally different structure. Those traditional organizations, governments, companies, armies, they're hierarchies, right? Rigid, based on rules, ranks, command structures, like a pyramid.
Right. Clear chain of command.
And that makes them efficient for certain things, sure, but also brittle. You can disrupt a hierarchy pretty easily. Take out the leader, stir up rebellion.
And the structure can collapse.
Okay.
So how are social cells different? Why are they resilient?
Because they're not rigid. They're fluid. They tend to be self-forming, self-repairing, often without a designated leader. The connections are based on trust and shared purpose, and they shift and adapt.
Ah, so if one connection breaks, the network just reforms.
Exactly. It's much harder to destroy something that's decentralized and adaptable. Think of like some resistance movements or even how innovation sometimes happens in informal networks. It's the flexibility. The ideal and the connection matter more than the org chart.
That's really interesting. The sources actually describe the people who tend to form these cells, don't they? A specific kind of profile.
They do, yeah. And it's fascinating, quite paradoxical, actually. First, these individuals often have this really intense, deep desire to heal things. Broken systems, broken hearts, damaged environments, whatever it is.
Okay, healers. But they're not necessarily seeking power.
Often the opposite. Little interest in traditional power or status, but because they're usually confident and very mission-driven, they often end up in positions of influence anyway. It just kind of happens.
Interesting. What else? There was something about neurodivergence.
Yeah, that's a striking point in the sources. A high incidence of neurodivergence, autism, ADHD, etc., either in themselves or in someone close to them.
Why would that be relevant?
Well, it links to another trait. They tend to be highly imaginative, original thinkers. They literally perceive the world differently, see patterns others miss, that outside-the-box thinking.
But there's downside mission too, isn't there? Vulnerability.
Yes. Because they are so sensitive, often deeply empathetic, they feel the world's pain more acutely. They can't just switch it off. So they're more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, maybe addiction. It's like their sensitivity is both their superpower and their Achilles heel.
Wow. So highly sensitive, creative, mission-driven, not seeking power, but often finding it. Maybe neurodivergent. Quite a mix.
United by this feeling, this sense that they're here to help with some kind of major shift in how humans operate, a shift away from the old ways.
And this movement, these people finding each other, forming these fluid cells, this leads to the big metaphor, right? The main image for the transformation.
Yes, the shift from the pyramid to the pool. It's meant to be a very right brain image, holistic, intuitive.
Okay, unpack that. The pyramid is.
The pyramid is the old way. Rigid hierarchy, status, competition, fear, exclusion. The culture built on anxiety. Solid, maybe, but inflexible.
And the pool.
The cool is awakened consciousness. Fluid, receptive, interconnected, inclusive, calm, clear water.
And they use an experiment to illustrate this with sugar cubes.
Yeah, it's a great visual. Imagine building a little pyramid out of sugar cubes in a bowl. That's the anxious, rigid structure.
Okay, got it. Solid sugar pyramid.
Now you gently pour water into the bowl. The water represents awakened consciousness, that calm, creative, connected energy.
What happens to the pyramid? Does it just topple over?
No, that's the key. It doesn't shatter violently. The water starts dissolving the sugar cubes gently from the bottom up.
From the bottom, not the top.
Right. The base softens, dissolves, and the structure kind of melts, sinks softly into the water. It collapses gently, not through attack, but through inclusion, through dissolving the rigidity.
So it suggests change comes from the grassroots, not by just replacing the guy at the top.
Exactly. Violent revolution often just swaps one rigid pyramid for another, right? This is different. It's a dissolution of the structure of fear and separation itself.
And nothing is actually destroyed. The sugar is still there.
It's still there, but its form has changed. The rigidity is gone. The opacity is gone. It's become part of the clear, fluid pool. Everything is included, held within the water.
So it's about transformation, not destruction. Dissolving the ego, maybe, rather than fighting it.
That's the core message. Awakening isn't about overthrowing. It's about becoming fluid, inclusive, holding different viewpoints, paradoxes, which is something the right hemisphere of the brain is good at. Fluidity wins, inclusion wins, not rejection.
How does this translate into, like, real-world action? It sounds a bit abstract.
Well, it leads to fundamentally different approaches. The sources mention Paul Hawken, the environmentalist. He talks about shifting our thinking about, say, climate change. Instead of global warming is happening to us.
Which makes us victims, right? Powerless, anxious.
Exactly. He suggests flipping the preposition, global warming is happening for us.
For us. How can a crisis be for us? That feels almost wrong. Doesn't it minimize the danger?
It's not minimizing the danger, it's changing the psychological stance. If it's happening to us, we're paralyzed by fear. If we frame it as happening for us,
It becomes, what? A challenge. An opportunity.
an invitation, an unavoidable invitation to innovate, to collaborate, to build new systems, to access that creativity we were talking about. It shifts the energy from fear-based reaction to possibility-based action. It unlocks ingenuity.
Okay, I can see how that reframing could unlock a different kind of energy. Less panic, more purpose.
Precisely. So bringing it back to you, the listener, the core idea is that your personal journey away from anxiety towards curiosity and creativity isn't just for you. As you follow that path, the sources suggest you'll find yourself naturally connecting with others doing the same, becoming part of these social cells, and being, as they put it, used in the most remarkable ways by this larger emerging intelligence.
And this connects to the idea of the wisdom of crowds.
It does, yeah. You remember that old experiment, Francis Galton guessing the weight of an ox?
Vaguely. The crowd got it right.
The average guess of the whole crowd was incredibly close to the actual weight, closer than most individual experts.
Huh. So collective intelligence is real.
It can be, but there's a huge caveat, which is crucial here.
What's that?
The crowd has to be diverse, and this is key. The individuals have to form their opinions independently. They can't be influencing each other into groupthink.
Ah. So, awakened individuals thinking clearly and creatively on their own, then interacting freely. That's where the magic happens.
That's the idea. That free, uncoerced interaction between clear minds can generate wisdom far beyond any single individual. That's the engine of the social cell.
Okay, so we started with the brain, anxiety, creativity, social cells, the pyramid dissolving. Where do the sources leave us? What's the final takeaway?
It comes back to a very simple, profound message about safety. And it comes from an unexpected place, this neurodivergent guy named Adam, mentioned in the sources.
Adam, what was his story?
Apparently, he heard recordings of the sounds the planets make, those radio waves translated into audio, Earth's hum, Jupiter's kind of deep
Oh,
sounds.
yeah, I've heard those. Eerie.
He recognized them instantly, said he could feel those sounds in his own body, and he claimed they weren't just random noise, they were sending a constant message.
A message. From the planets. What message?
Just one. Very simple. When asked what the planets were saying, Adam replied, that we're safe.
Wow, that we're safe after all the talk of anxiety and crisis.
Yes.
The universe is saying we're safe.
That's presented as the end point, the state you reach when you move beyond anxiety. That fundamental knowing that at the deepest level you belong, you're okay, and that your unique contribution, your creativity is needed. It's part of this huge, beautiful quilt being stitched together all over the world.
So if we are the Earth's thinking layer, it's neocortex.
Then maybe that brain is waking up. And when we shed the anxiety, when we embrace that creative, connected self-energy, we're not just watching the magic of life unfold. We are that magic.
Powerful place to end. We are the magic.